Okay. Um, Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, class. You are welcome to FMC 113. I hope the student join the class soon, even though we hardly have students joining this particular class. So in the last class, we took a look at the what film is called and some other things about film. And so this time around, we are going to be talking about history of world cinema. History of world cinema. And then we will look at, under history of world cinema, we will look at the history of cinema, Hollywood cinema, history of African cinema, and history of Nigerian cinema. Let's talk about the prehistory of cinema. Let's talk about the prehistory of cinema. In the prehistory of cinema, we'll learn about the Edward Muybridge experiments. We'll learn about the pioneers of cinema, such as Thomas Edison. We'll learn about Edwin S. Potter. We'll learn about George Eastman. We'll learn about Louis Le Prince and Auguste and Louis Lumiere. We'll learn about George Melis and other pioneers. Okay, so let us begin by talking about the prehistory of cinema. You see, when we talk of camera, the use of camera in terms of photography and cinematography is something that has been known to be a great achievement by the inventors of the early days and also by the filmmakers. For them, the cameras are specially used to store information and make known about the events, make known about the people, make known about the society, and so camera use became extremely popular in the year 1827 and also in the 1830s. And we can see that in the world that we have today, the the people are so fascinated about camera, and then they use it to do capturing. They use it to capture some shots and also to record some moments, especially moments that are historic. And also, you see, in the days that we are, it is easy to press the capture button when one is shooting. And so, as a matter of fact, the in the days of in the early days of camera, the cameraman in the early days of camera, the cameraman had issue to to this is why you see in those days the cameraman or the cameramen of those days, they really had issues of how to capture motion. Okay, so it is in the process of trying to understand how to capture motion that inventors came up with the cinema, with what we call cinema. So in this unit, we'll talk about the prehistory of cinema and also the meaning that it guides, and it guides us in discovering how camera and technology were originally applied to capture motions. Okay, so now let's see some important things to be done in the course of this course. So we will talk about the role that the arts of photography, the role that the art of photography played in investing cinema. We will also explain how cinema is not a one-man's invention. Also, we will talk about the inventors, how the inventors gave the word, um, how the inventors gave the world different kinds of early motion pictures, cameras, and the names of their makers. Also, we'll discuss the pioneers of the word cinema. Okay, so these are the things we expect to learn in this module. These are the things that the module intends to teach us, and so that we could learn and understand some things about the prehistory of cinema. Okay, so as we move, the Edward Muybridge experiment, the Edward Muybridge experiment. This is better appreciated as a story. It is the story of two friends. One is Leland Stanford, and a one-time governor in California. Okay, it seems that all these governors in California, they really like, or let me say, governors from the United States of America seem to like to act. How many of you remember, oh, the students are not here, I would have used this opportunity to ask of them, or to ask from them if they probably know the man called Arnold Schwarzenegger. You see, Arnold Schwarzenegger or Schwarzenegger is an actor in the United States of America, of course. If you've seen his movie, you would know the person I'm talking about. You see, he he later became governor, of course, and then in the United States of America, of course. But he acted some action movies, which were very, very popular in the world. And then this man was someone known and was very, very, very reckoned with. So the um talking about this one-time governor of California and the other, Edward Bridge, a British photographer who emigrated to the United States of America at the time and was employed by Leyland and the United States of America, and they became friends. He was employed by the former governor of California, then that's Leland Stanford, and of course they became friends. Let me tell us more about the Edward Muybridge. His name actually is Edward James Muggeridge. Don't forget that we are dealing with the history of cinema. Okay, so Edward Muybridge is popularly known as the name of Edward Muybridge is um, uh, Edward James Muggeridge. And then this man was born April 9, 1830. And then he's, of course, English photographer. And then he's known for his pioneering work in photography, in photographic study of motion and in motion pictures projections. So um, Edward Edward Muybridge, known as Edward James Muggeridge, adopted his name, believing it to be original Anglo-Saxon form of his name. So he immigrated. Don't forget that I told us that he was a British photographer who emigrated to the United States of America. Okay, so he emigrated to the United States. All right. So this man emigrated to the United States of America, and then as a young man, immigrated rather to the United States of America, but as a young man, but he remained so obscure until 1868 when his large photographs of Yosemite Valley, California made him world famous. Okay, he came up with a photograph known as Yosemite Valley in California. So this made him popular. So the Muybridge experiment in photography motion began in 1876. The experiment began in 1876 when the railroad magnate Leyland Stanford hired him to prove that during a particular moment in a trotting horse gait, all four legs are off the ground simultaneously. You see, this is how they began to come up with what is called movies. I mean, different kinds of cinema. Okay, so they began it this way. Now, he was employed by Leland Stanford. That was the former or a one-time governor of the California state. Okay, and so, and the task was that he should prove that during a particular moment in a trotting horse gait, all four legs of the horse are off the ground simultaneously. So his efforts were unsuccessful because his camera lacked a fast shutter. Don't forget I told us that the early cameramen, they had issues. They had issue with taking pictures at a very fast rate. It is in the world that we have today that you can just pick your camera. Before you know it, you have already taken the shot. I pick my digital camera, I snap, and then before you know it, I'm done. I pick my phone, I take the shot, I'm done. But in those days, there were issues with the shutter. Okay? So when he came up with the first experiment, it was very unsuccessful. So his first effort, as I said, yielded no result. So the project was then interrupted. And so while this man called me Bridge was being tried for the murder of his wife's lover, although he was acquitted, and then he found it expedient to travel for a number of years in Mexico and Central America. So making publicity photographs, okay? Don't forget, this man was a photographer. So after that, there was a little distraction, okay? He had to leave the place where he was, California, and headed to or move around Mexico and Central America. And then he began to do publicity photographs for the Union Pacific Railroad, a company owned by Stafford. So in 1877, he returned to California and resumed his experiments. Don't forget, we are talking about the experiment of Edward Muybridge. Okay, and of course, you see, this book or this course is filled with history. So you just try to take your time, relax, and enjoy the historical perspective that is embedded in this course. That this course has been created to, or has been written, or has been formed to carry out. So in 1877, he returned to California and resumed his experiment in motion photography. Using a battery of from 10 to 24 cameras and a special shutter he developed that gave an exposure of 2 per 1,000 of a second. So this arrangement gave satisfactory result and proved Stafford's contention. Don't forget, you cannot compare what was to what is. Because what was, you see, in those early days, inventors only tried to create. And as a matter of fact, some of them created things on the basis of try by error. So when he came up with the motion photography by using a battery of from 10 to 24 cameras, a battery of from how many do I call it? 10 to 24 cameras, okay? So in order to get a fast shooting, okay, when he pressed the shutter, so it is to help him take the pictures at a very fast rate. So he achieved the result. And then what happened? The result of Muybridge's work were widely published, most often in the form of line drawings taken from his photographs. So, and then they were criticized, however, by those who thought that Oxlegs could never assume such unlikely positions. You know, okay, like yesterday, I was playing with some softwares on my phone, those softwares to edit pictures. And then, I had to come up with some motion works, some artistic forms that are motions, that are motion based. Okay. So those ones, I have to come up with them, and also to do something that is so unique. Thank God for the softwares and the applications made available. But in the case of, in those days, in the days of Muybridge, when he was trying to experiment a way to enhance the effectiveness of photography, they used their cameras, they used pictures, they used cameras, and then the result of his experiment was actually criticized, and however, by those who thought that the horse legs could never assume such unlikely position. So, to counter such criticism, Muybridge gave lectures on animal locomotion. You still remember locomotion? On animal locomotion. On animal locomotions. What is locomotion, please? Who can tell us what locomotion is? Okay, let me just go on. You see, locomotion is any of a variety of movements among animals that result in progressions from one place to another. So to locate, all animals require both propulsive and control mechanism. Let me go back. We are not doing science here. So let me just go back so that you can follow through what I'm saying. So Muybridge gave lectures on animal locomotion throughout the United States and Europe. So these lectures were illustrated with what is called suprazico. Okay, suprazico. Okay, let me tell us about this suprazico. It is motion picture in projection. Okay, motion picture projection. So the lectures were illustrated with a suprascope, a lantern he developed. This man, he was an inventor. So a lantern he developed that projected images in rapid succession onto a screen from photographs printed on a rotating glass disc, producing the illusion of moving pictures. So the suprascope display, an important predecessor of the modern cinema, was a sensation at the world's Columbia. So we're back. So that lantern, he developed that lantern was developed to project the images in rapid succession. Okay, in rapid succession. So this was used to produce the illusion of moving pictures. So this the suprascope display an important predecessor of the modern cinema and was a sensation at the World's Columbia Exposition of the 1893 in Chicago. So Muybridge made his most important photographic studios of motions from 1884 to 1887 under the auspices of the University of Pennsylvania. Okay, and then some of those things he made consisted of photographs of various activities of human figures, clothed and naked, which were to form a visual, what do I call it? A visual compendium. Yes, a visual compendium, and then of human movements for the use of artists and scientists. Okay, for the use of artists and scientists. So many of these photographs were published. Many of Muybridge photographs were published in 1887 in the portfolio called Animal Locomotion and Electrophotographic Investigation of Consecutive Phase of Animal Movement. So Muybridge continued to publicize publish his works until 1900, when he retired to his birthplace. So this man actually made impact. Okay, when we talk of an inventor that made impact with an experiment. So, and furthermore, he commissioned his laboratory assistant by name William K. L. Dixon to produce a machine and a tool that is capable of not only capturing photos, but should be able to project them. So the projections of the pictures were very important then. So Dixon created a machine called kinetograph. Okay, kinetograph. And this machine was used for the recording of live images and produced another one. That other one was called kinetoscope. Okay, so let me ask you, what were the machines, or which name? What was the name of the machines, the two machines invented by Dixon, by William K. L. Dixon? What were they? First, he invented kinetograph. Secondly, he invented kinetoscope for viewing them. So Thomas Edison later, he used both the kinetograph and kinetoscope to mesmerize viewers, but the machines were bulky and could only allow one viewer at a time. You see, one thing about inventors is that when they have seen something created by man, an inventor may want to replicate what has been created in another way. But you see, for the fact that we have someone who has gone ahead to create something, before the others, really shows that that person has really laid a foundation of impact. And so, the foundation of impact that that person has made is what other people will build on. I hope we're following. Is what other people will build on. So in 1895, don't forget, we have two brothers from a family of photographers in France. The name of those brothers were Auguste and Louis Lumière. Auguste and what? And who? And Louis Lumière. They invented their own motion picture camera. The good thing about their DS was that it can be used in shooting the images as well as in viewing them. So their cameras was smaller in size than that of Thomas Edison, and their camera was being used for those jobs that were outdoors. Okay, and it was so portable and not noisy. It was so portable and not noisy. So And again, that the camera, the motion camera that they came up with, the camera that these two brothers, Auguste and Lumiere, came up with, were very quiet. I mean, it operated more quietly than the kinetoscope and projected images more smoothly. Don't forget that inventors, as things are changing, they keep on bringing on new things. You cannot compare what an iPhone will produce and what an Apple product will produce to what Android will produce. Okay, except for some Android phones who are well upgraded. Okay, so these brothers, Lumiere and the Lumiere brothers, call their device the cinematograph. Let me use the word cinematograph, from where the word cinema became popularized. So the first film, La Sortie de Usinis, Lumiere et Lyon, Quitting Time at the Lumiere factory, was the first film shown to the public on 28 December 1895 at the Grand Café of the Boulevard des Capuchins in Paris, France, and is used to state, or let me use the word, identify the arrival of cinema in world stage. You see, you can read about Cousins, the story of film. You can read the story of film written by Cousin M in 2004. You can get more details about cinematograph, kinetoscope, and kinetograph. Now, I've been doing the talking. Do we have anyone? Or let me quickly finish with this. This particular history has actually taken our time. Let me finish up with it. From this story, you will have seen how cameras were invented and how they work. Their functions, okay? Already in the story, you can identify a few names mentioned, but in the subheadings that follows, you will see the contributions of pioneers. You see the contributions of the Lumiere brothers, Thomas Edison, and so. So these men came up with certain ideas, with rich ideas. Their ideas laid foundation. And then they were able to come up with some equipment, or with some photographic equipment. Do we have questions? Do we have clarifications? Anyone wants to add?
Okay. Can I speak?
Yes, sir.
Thank you for how far we have gone with this, our historical study of photography. I think it's important we, as students of communication, as students of mass communication, understand the transition we've had in photography and the historical points that led to the evolution of photography till date. So we all as students should please take time after this class also to try to study. Even we will make efforts to also download videos on the history of photography and the personnel that were the people that were involved in this evolution, to share it on our WhatsApp group and on other platforms. Thank you, sir.
All right, thank you, sir. So now there are some questions here. There are some questions here actually that we need to pay attention to as students. In case you are revisiting this video, you want to watch, you want to see this lecture, you can, you need to pay attention to the self-assessment exercise and look at those questions. You have to answer the question: the device which Edward Muybridge invented was called what? What was it called? And also, the motion picture camera which Augustine and Louis Lumiere invented was called what? Cinematograph, okay? And you know the that of Edward Muybridge. And then the first film was shown. The first film was shown to the public on what? So all these are meant to be studied in order for us to have a full understanding of what cinemato of the prehistory of the prehistory of cinema in the world. Okay, the prehistory of cinema in the world. Okay, so do we have anyone with questions? In case you are watching this video or you are listening to this lecture later, you can send in your questions through the mail that you find on the portal. You can send your questions using the mail of your facilitator as it has been presented on this portal. So please feel free to ask questions and let's know where things needed to be done and where we need to cover up. Okay, so in the next class, let's take a look at the pioneers of cinema. In the next class, we shall be looking at the pioneers of cinemas. We'll talk about Thomas Edison. We'll talk about Edwin S. Porter, and then we have more of them. We may decide to go beyond what is in this material, please. So in the next class, let's see how far we can go in discussing the pioneers of cinema. All right, so thank you. We'll meet again in the next class.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.